This time I'd like to call to order the August 2022 meeting of the Anderson County Charter Commission, and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Commissioner Fritz?
Here.
Commissioner Smallridge?
Here.
Commissioner Isbell?
Here.
Commissioner
Very good.
White?
How's your
Commissioner Mean?
Here.
Commissioner Bochamp? Here. Commissioner Sunshine?
Present.
Six here and one absent.
Thank you. At this time, would you please stand for the prayer led by Commissioner Fritz and followed by the pledge by Commissioner Meade.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you, Lord, for this day and the many blessings you've given us. And Father, we just thank you for everything you've done for this county and everything you've done for each and every one of the lives that lives here, Lord. And Father, we thank you for your Son and the sacrifice he made for us. Forgive us when we fail you in so many ways. For Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge to our flag and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the minutes of the June 21st meeting.
Move for approval.
Got a motion and by Commissioner Fritz and second by Commissioner Meade to approve the minutes. Any corrections or objections? Hearing none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Minutes are approved. This is the session where we have appearance of citizens. Seeing none. We're on, item number 7. Commissioner Steve Emmert has moved out of state and has resigned. So,
Do we need to accept it? I move we accept Emmert's resignation.
Second.
motion made and second to accept Commissioner Meade or Commissioner Emmert's resignation. Any discussion?
Well, other than the fact that under state law, if he moves out of the district, he's required to resign. So it isn't like he
Right.
had any choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead and take this vote, and
We do this by voice vote. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resignation accepted. Commissioner Fritz,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we forward this to the full commissions to fill this post at the earliest convenience.
Yeah, second, I would like to see if we really need to do that on this next meeting.
It's already been publicly noticed.
It's already been public notice and everything, so on the 15th coming up, that could be addressed by commission.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I've already talked to Annette about it. She's taking care of a lot of it, and law director, and I'm gonna be in New York celebrating birthday of grandkid, but Annette's gonna either get our commission chairman or Commissioner Smallridge to lead the meeting or something, so.
On the nominating
Uh-huh.
committee, if you can't get that together, I know it's we're a little bit short on time, but remember, the nominating committee is not a statutory committee. We can bypass that and send it to county commission, because if you remember, when we're filling the vacancy of a county official, you can take nominations from the floor at the time of the vote. So the nominating committee really doesn't apply here. It may or may not vet any of the candidates. But if we can't have a nominating committee, if we don't have the time for that, then send it to county commission where the authority lies to fill the vacancy in District 3.
And there clearly is an urgency on this, in that we're coming to the very end to complete this and have it on the November ballot. And so we really are short on time.
And technically, the nominating committee would forward every single candidate
Right.
that applied to the full commission. So,
Well, and what we're doing here, we're gonna schedule some meetings. And, anticipating that someone will be approved at the August commission meeting, and this will give the person selected an opportunity to get acclimated, be caught up on as much as possible, and to see if they have any comments or suggestions.
Question, Vio.
Yes, sir.
First of all, are we required to fill this position? I'm a little concerned someone trying to get up to speed with everything we've been through on the charter in a very short time.
I understand your concerns, but I think it's only appropriate. I'd hate to pass a charter and not have an active representative from District 3. What I'm gonna do is, after the county commission meeting on the 15th, I'll meet with that individual. I'll do everything I can to get them up to speed. I'll give them the copies of the status reports. I'll give them the copies of the latest draft, answer any questions that we possibly can, and then VL's going to talk to you about some other dates after that appointment is made by county commission. And we need to have it in. The deadline is the 25th to the election commission. Personally, I'd like to see it over there by the 24th. But we need at least a couple of meetings with our new commissioner from District 3 to make sure they fully understand what we've got and we've answered all their questions. But my opinion is, yes, we need to fill this vacancy right away.
There is another complication. I am going to be out of state on some family stuff from the 18th of August until the 28th, which is a Sunday. I've got commitments to a whole bunch of things where I am the entertainment, I am supplying sound systems, I'm supplying technical expertise that they don't otherwise have for the 86th annual family reunion, among other things. And so I'm not going to be available during that time to sign anything. And if this thing is due before I come, what you say it's the 25th?
It has to be there by the 25th.
Yeah.
I think we have that worked out.
And so I have no problem with signing something before I leave.
Sure. When do you
Because
get back, Commissioner
In
Meade?
fact, one of my comments that we're going to be talking about here shortly is the fact that when we sign this, we're not really signing saying we endorse it. We're signing it saying this is what the commission agreed upon, and this is what the vote that won.
Well,
okay,
your
because-
action, the signature is not required.
Well, the one that I got had.
I understand that, but
Oh,
it's,
okay.
it's, I think we can work through that.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Then it just,
Do you know when you return, sir?
the 28th.
Okay.
I'll be
I'll
gone
be in
about
con-
10
If
days.
there's any problems, I'll call you on the cell phone or
Yeah.
email you. Will you have access to your email?
I will, yeah.
Okay, good.
Sabra?
Do we need to make a motion to go ahead and send these names on the county commission and just not go with the nominating committee so we can,
well, my
That's-
motion was
that's
to
just-
send it to full commission.
Oh,
Send it to
okay.
Commission.
Yeah.
Did
We
you get a
don't-
vote on that yet?
We don't handle that, the
Okay.
county commission
and
does.
we already have names?
No.
I mean, nobody's applied for it?
No, it just went in the paper
Yeah,
today.
we just advertised it.
Oh, okay. So when's the deadline?
Well, it has to be 10 days, doesn't it?
Yes, but county commission is the ultimate authority on the selection. You've been through the
Yeah.
process. So we normally use the nominating committee, but when you're filling the vacancy of a county official, the county commission can actually take vacancies,
From the floor.
nominations from the floor.
Okay.
And usually the nominating committee goes ahead and sends everybody up on that and
Gotcha.
lets county commission kind of sort it out. And that's probably how it'll be. So they'll have to have their name to Annette,
By that Monday?
The 12th on it.
but
Oh.
it can be later.
Yeah,
It could be the night of the meeting.
Okay,
And since they can be nominated from the floor, I mean,
Right.
it doesn't matter. I just wanted to know what to tell
That's
people
correct.
from District 3
Anybody that
that
shows
wanted to
interest
apply.
later can just show up at the meeting and be nominated from the floor.
It'd be great to have their resume and stuff like that
Yeah.
ahead of time, so Annette can disseminate it to everyone and get it in the commission agenda packet.
well, the deadline would have to be noon that Wednesday. Will you be able
Mhm.
to do that?
Is that the 12th?
And
No, that's the, what is that? 14th? I mean, not 14th,
the 10th?
10th.
That's commission deadline for the packet.
At noon, right.
But if somebody misses that, this is my point.
Tell 'em
They
to-
can still appear,
Okay,
and now county commissioners have to nominate an individual. They can't get up and nominate themselves.
okay.
But a county commissioner could nominate anyone from the floor they so choose.
Commissioner Fritz, did you get a second?
I don't know.
I'll second his motion.
Commissioner Meade seconded.
Oh, okay.
We've already
Like I said,
passed it.
I think I seconded
Didn't
it.
vote on it.
Didn't vote on the second one to send it up to county commission to fill the vacancy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any other comments on that? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Gavin?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I don't have much. As you can see, what I've disseminated to you tonight is a clean copy, so it's fairly close. I've reviewed it for spacing, typos, numbering, table of contents, and
Imagination,
pagination, yes.
my favorite word.
I'm continuing to do that, but I think it's very close, and of course, I'll be open to any comments that Jay has or anybody else regarding that. I will just mention, I took off Commissioner Emmert's name from the front page, and I also correspondingly took off a last signature page, but I guess we'll further determine that based on what happens, whether we have a signature page or not. So the last meeting we were here, I think we reviewed 3 principal items, and they are on the minutes for the last meeting on June 22nd, I believe. The first one is I was directed to include in section 7.05 of the charter. That is page, I'm gonna go out a little out of order here. 7.05E, and that's on page 30. I'm sorry, D, right above E. I have inserted right there that tiny paragraph at the end of D there. There was a discussion and a vote last time, I believe, that the commissioners wanted the current charter commission to remain in place until the charter review committee came into existence. So I've made that change. I believe it formerly said March of 2032. I've changed that to September as the date when the position would
Go
start.
back to election.
Correct, yes, since they're going to be elected. So I've added that. And I assume that any vacancies that occur will be filled by the county legislative body
Yes, sir.
in the meantime. So that change has been made. If anybody has any questions about that, I'm welcome to that. Next, I would like to refer to page 2.09, section 2.09, page 13, at the bottom of page 13. Subsection C, and it goes on to page 14 there. There was a vote, I believe, last time regarding emergency ordinances and to mirror the Shelby County charter provision on that. And if I can recall, what I think that did was, excuse me, it made emergency ordinances go into effect immediately upon passage. So
That's correct.
and so that change is made, I'm just pointing that out.
On that subsection 2 there on 14, follow me, Gavin,
Yes,
very
sir.
top.
Mhm.
That word final kind of may throw folks because there's only one reading. We can just strike that
Okay.
final. Because it's effective upon county commission approving it.
Okay. I'll do that. And then I guess the third principal thing was, well, another thing I was gonna mention was, section 411. I don't know if this is something you have thoughts on, Jay, but the constables, I've kept it in there.
Technically, they're state officers, and there's very little county commission can do, but there's a statute that allows us to abolish the office of constable, and there's a statute that allows us to strip the law enforcement powers from the constable. But that was, 4.11 is, what I was concerned about is having them subject to recall.
Okay.
Now, they can be ousted. There's a case out of Roane County on ouster of a constable, but I don't know if they'd be subject to recall since they are technically state officers. We might want to look at that
Okay.
just to see if we can, but they
Sure.
definitely are subject to ouster.
Okay. And on that, I think the final thing was on that very section, section 7.11, page 34. I think this may merit further discussion between,
711.
yes, sir. Not included here is the circuit court clerk and the clerk and master. There's the statute, of course, that says that the charter commission can't have any effect on the judicial department. There's the case out of Knox County, which says as much. I think some in our office, John maybe, has a little bit of hesitation as to whether the recall statute can apply to a circuit court clerk, and a clerk and master being technically, if you read the Tennessee Constitution, unless I'm mistaken, they fall under the judicial branch. So I think was concern there, and I didn't know if we wanted to include that, or if you had any other thoughts on that.
You're basically saying instead of being subject to recall, there's the two statutes that allows the chancellor to remove the clerk and master and the circuit court judge to remove the circuit court clerk.
Correct.
Okay.
And in the Constitution itself, if I remember correctly, it says that they may be removed as provided by law. I guess they are subject to ouster. I'm not sure. I haven't reviewed the ouster statute, so.
But then
And that may weigh in favor of it, them being subject to recall,
exactly.
so.
Yes, Commissioner.
Our clerk and master is appointed by the judge, so I don't think ouster on that. I think,
The chancellor.
yeah.
The chancellor.
Yeah,
That's what
sorry.
that's what
The
he's talking
chancellor
about.
and, so I don't think that needs to be in there at all, because it's under their discretion.
I've researched it quite a bit. I haven't found, of course, I've got Shelby County and Knox County to look at, but they both do not include that as subject to recall. I've looked at the statutes. The recall provision, as far as I've researched, unless you're probably more familiar with it, I'm sure. But the recall statute, it's within the election section. It's about the petition, so it doesn't really list the offices that are subject to recall. It just says if a county charter or a city charter says that the officers are subject to recall, then it has the petition requirements. So,
I think you're right, Gavin, and the other thing that concerns me is they're definitely both judicial officers, and there's a prohibition that the charter cannot affect the judicial system. So
That's right.
that would also weigh against put them in that category of recall. Everybody on board with that, what he's saying? Everybody understands?
Yeah, we can't interfere with the judiciary.
Nope.
With the charter.
if nothing further, I believe that's it. As to any further stylistic changes, again, I've reviewed that, and I'm continuing to review that. There may be more provisions that Jay and I need to discuss. One was, I think we brought it up last time, was the teacher tenure statutes. I think we had a question as to whether.
We've got that answered.
Okay, sounds very good.
Let me tell you, Gavin, if you can pass Commissioner Mead's edits and grammar and review, you're in good shape. Because he's got an eyeball for it, and I've got his comments and the things that he's pointed out.
How about the answer to, in section 307, Anderson County Law Director, I find it interesting that the entire section never even addresses the private act.
Hey, we've got that.
Okay,
covered.
you did
Yeah,
add
it's in the
something in
no-
there?
It's in the
Okay.
notes, yeah.
I thought it did.
I mean, it is listed in the list of effective private acts.
Yes, but what this committee, this commission wanted was at that introductory paragraph, put consistent with or pursuant to that private act that was passed. That's what you're alluding to, correct? So there's no.
Oh, I mean, even if in the first introducctory sentence
what we're
of
just
that
talking about.
section, if it said is done in accordance with private acts as such, and this is then it goes on to explain what it says.
Yes, sir.
I don't have any problem with having the information from the private act in this.
That is the private act, but you
yeah.
just want it referenced by
Yeah.
private act.
Right, probably the office of the county law director for Anderson County, Tennessee is hereby created and established
Pursuant to,
By
pursuant to
private
the
act.
private act.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you've already talked about that here, and we've got it in the notes here. Jay.
it's listed on, I know, with juvenile judge and the rest of them that way.
And will continue to be operated in accordance with the private act.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, the way it's worded in the juvenile court judge provision was, it's the intent of this charter to keep it, so I can
That's
include
good.
that if you'd like. The only other thing is, it's still listed as remaining in effect on Appendix A,
Yes.
and so I don't know if, is that what the commission wants?
Well, no, it's still good that it's there, but I think if you read the entire section and it never even mentions the private act, then it doesn't lead people to even think about that. I mean, they wouldn't even think to go back and look at the private act list
Right.
when they have some specific question. Because I don't think what's here is completely all, is just a
Verbatim.
statement of the private act.
It's verbatim.
It's just the key of things covered by the private act.
Reference material.
It's an addendum.
And on that, I'll just say, it may not, I don't know, listing it as a private act that remains in effect is okay, I think. But
Yeah.
I think it may have problems, and I'll see what you think. You may run into problems if you put it into the charter and then you change something about the law director or law director's office. You've changed the charter, but you say the private act is still in effect. So it's
That
conflicting.
private act has to go back and be amended, yeah.
Either that, or it's anything inconsistent in the private
Yeah,
private act is.
one saving grace there is a provision that allows the county commission to assign other duties. Instead, that's there, so we wouldn't have to go back and amend that private act. The county commission could say, law director, you do this, do that.
Okay,
So we'll talk more about it.
okay, sounds good.
I understand where he's coming from.
Commissioner Fritz?
If county commissioners decides to hire a second attorney, how would that affect the,
There's already a section in there that allows us to hire, the county commission has the authority to hire additional staff
okay,
members. It's
so
in
we're
there.
covered everything.
We're
so-
covered there.
Because you need help.
I need help in a lot of ways, Chuck, but I appreciate you pointing that out.
If I can, I'll just mention one more thing for Jay.
Take your time, buddy.
The committees, I think it's 2-0, this just came to my mind. You can see it better on the earlier drafts. Regarding the county commission's ability to appoint individuals to lower committees and
Mhm.
subcommittees and things like that. I've changed that. I've drafted the language a little bit different to make it talk about statutory committees.
That's in this one,
Correct,
right? Yeah, I
yes.
saw that. I
Okay.
liked it a lot.
Okay, and committees that are to
Mhm.
study.
It makes the, it distinguishes what we've talked about that statute that allows the county mayor to appoint members of various boards, commissions,
Right.
and some committees, subject to confirmation from the county legislative body. But what Gavin's talking about is the committees that county commission may come up with to study various things, and so that's what he's speaking to. It's a little bit different process.
And I'm trying to find the,
Are you looking for where you put it?
It's,
yes. It's J, it's on page 9, 2.02J. Yeah.
Page,
Yeah.
page 9.
Yes, sir. I did have like a little text in brackets in an earlier draft.
Yeah.
I've taken it out.
that's good, that's fine.
So,
I like the way you've got it.
okay, okay. And I think that's it.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Got just a few things, and got just a couple of areas I want to cover. I gave these two handouts to you, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. One is the Declaration of Rights. I just need y'all to make a decision in the next couple meetings here. And the listing of the offices. As you know, we've talked about this before, and there's some opinions that if it's not listed in the charter, it doesn't exist. So what this is just a list of the various departments that we have here in county government, be expanded and deleted. There's a provision that Gavin's wrote in that the mayor can eliminate her departments or expand new ones. County commission can eliminate departments or approve new ones, but these are the ones currently. So I'll give this to you. Take a look at it. I'm not gonna put it in there exactly like this, but if you do want it in there as an appendix, that's where it would be. We would just make sure that all the departments that are in existence right now are noted in the charter. And of course, that's subject to change. Now, the other one I have is that Declaration of Rights, and that's more of a Bill of Rights for Anderson County citizens. This again is optional, it's not required in any way. If you want to look at that, that would be listed as an appendix. I just need a decision or your thoughts and comments on this prior to the next meeting. And again, it's not required, it can be in there or not. But it covers some areas that I know several of y'all are interested in. Then the educational materials that we'll put out to the public, I think Gavin's contract has that in there. I'll work with him to get that. What we're talking about is maybe just a 3-sided brochure. 6 panels we can do if it's just a handout, but if you wanted it mailed to anybody, we could only do it really 3. But we want to be brief. We want to tell exactly what's changed, what the benefits are to the citizens if they vote for a charter, if there's any problems that we see, what's been brought to our attention, what's not, and probably keep it pretty short but straightforward. More than anything, I want the citizens to know exactly what's changed. And Gavin and I will be working on that. We'll have that ready. I want to have it ready before we send it to the Election Commission. And then at that point, we'll decide how we want it distributed. If you want it to be handouts, if we want it in media, certainly put it on our website, certainly put it on Channel 95. We'll give it to all the media outlets, give it to the newspapers. And then if you wanted to get to citizens, we've got a little money left. We can have it mailed, a bulk mail rate, if you want to do that. So that educational materials is pretty critical, but I wanted to hit the high points for the citizens to say, okay, I don't know anything about this. Well, here it is. This is what it's about. This is the history of it. This is what's changed. And but anyway, I'll be looking for any of y'all that have comments on that, and we'll put that together. I already mentioned to you that after that person, our new District 3 commissioner is selected at County Commission, I'll meet with them immediately, get them all the relevant materials. They can come to my office when we sit down and talk, or they can just send me emails when they get to a point where they're not sure. But we'll get that squared away. The next thing I have, VL, is the dates, and that's all I have for you tonight, is our meeting dates.
Okay, but before we get to that, Mr. Emmert, you had a,
Well, actually, Mead, once again, not Emmert. Before it was said
I'm
Mead, when it
sorry.
was supposed to be Emmert, you just called me Emmert, that's right, yeah, Mr. Mead here. The people, some of the people that I've talked to about this charter come to me and say something like, well, I thought based upon who was elected to the Charter Commission that there weren't going to be any changes. And then I had to explain to them that a charter government, by its very nature and under state law, there's a specific list of things that have to be included in a charter government. So those things that we hadn't necessarily addressed in the past, but are required as part of the charter, have to be there, and they have to be addressed. So you could look at those as being something new, but it's something that in some cases, I think we were already doing, but it wasn't specifically addressed. In some cases, the terminology is simply different. The other thing that people are looking for, and I think it needs to be clear in these educational things. I wish I knew how many times this committee or this commission has used the term, well, does this change anything in the way we're doing business in this office? Or does this change anything going to do with this? And we have sided literally unanimously with not changing the way anybody does things. And so I think it's important that be focused, that, you know, the people that were elected, and like I tell people, there was basically 7 of us that were elected on a platform of people didn't really want things to change. And if they did change, they wanted it to be minimal. Then there was one person whose campaign was that he wanted a lot of change. But then in the very first meeting, he agreed with the other 7 of us. That was Dr. Stanley, and that's all public record and was televised. And so I think the people that are going to favor this are going to favor it because the way the individual offices and the elected officials run their office is simply not changed. The authorities and stuff, there's a couple places where we've kind of clarified some things based upon the requirements for a charter. But other than those things that are required, there's only a couple of places that we're adding new things, like ordinances, which is a big advantage to the county to have that authority. It resolves all kinds of issues that are otherwise are not addressed. It gives a simple way that you can have specified fines for things, that the money would come to the county instead of, like, for traffic violations, all going to the state. I think also an important factor is that appendix that includes some of the old private acts that go away if the charter is approved. I think that's such a great idea, because there's some of those really old things that were very specific that are not, they don't talk about the way we do. We haven't done business for at least the 12 years I've been around. It hasn't been done that way. And in one case, there's something we came very close to removing here recently, and with a private act revocation, but it's never been used. It's never been enforced. And so to me, it makes no sense to have it there. And so there's a bunch of good things about going to this charter. It cleans this system out. It gives us a specific way we do business. But the key and important issue is that it really didn't change the way the government runs, with the exception of calling a few things slightly by different names, and having second readings and stuff that are required for some of the ordinances and things.
Yeah, I think when you get down to the nuts and bolts on this issue, what does the charter do? It puts the hands of the people and their ability to form their own government. If you look at the preamble that's listed there, this is a government of the people. And it helped, instead of us going along with the same old constitutional thread, that default position that other counties are in, the citizens of Anderson County can form their government the way they think it's most advantageous to them by referendum. So not only this process, but in the future, if they see something that needs to be changed, there's a referendum process in there. And you hit on the big thing with ordinances. This is going to help our zoning. Commissioner Fritz has been an advocate for this probably 12 years, where we have to go through a complete lawsuit in Chancery Court, file a lawsuit. It takes months to get that disposed of, sometimes years. We can simply go out and adopt those as ordinances and write a citation, make them returnable to General Sessions Court. Much more expedient process, but the big issue there is, instead of sending that money down to Nashville, we retain it here in hopes that, that'll help bolster our public service capabilities and our staff of EMS, Sheriff's Office, Highway Department, corrections. But those are some of the big changes. But if somebody asked me on the street, say, what does this do? And I said, well, it puts the hands of government in you. You can change things the way you want to see it if there is enough people that wants to do that. But those are the things that we'll put in the educational materials, and I just want everybody to be on board with that and understand that these are the questions you may get, and here's the answers to return them to the people that ask you about it. But good thoughts, Commissioner Meade. I really appreciate you on that.
I'd like to, Commissioner Fritz, you have something?
I was just gonna say, that basically, there's very little changes in what we have to do business. So we just tell people on what the changes are,
No, the ordinances are basically required by the statute on
But-
charters.
My question is, we were required to form this charter commission, to come up with a charter. But right here it says, in the example of the voting thing, for a charter form of government, against a charter form of government. If they vote against and it passes, what do you do?
It doesn't pass if they vote against it.
Right, if they say, no, we don't want a charter form of government, do you just quit?
That's it.
Could be another process at some point in time to go through this same thing we've been through. Elect a different charter commission, but I think the best thing about this committee has been totally transparent. They've had a dedicated email address. They've had meetings where people were allowed to show up at every meeting and talk about the changes they wanted to see. We've interviewed 36 different departments of county government and the school system. And we've only had just a couple of things that were ever even mentioned to us. And it almost makes me feel like the people in the county are satisfied with what's been going on since 1801. Because nobody's been up here saying, you need to change this, you need to change that. That's just not happened.
I've learned over the years that unless something affects someone personally, they're happy with status quo.
Right. And a lot of that goes back to our officials and the county commission that's willing to let people stand up here and talk at any meeting. They feel like they've got the opportunity to have their concerns heard.
I'd like to, anybody else have anything you want to say? I got 3 things I wanted to.
Don't forget these dates. That's
Well,
all I've got. Thank you.
that's later on, but
Okay.
the 2 things that he passed out, the Declaration of Rights and the incomplete draft. You know, I looked over those and I just wondered, for expedience sake or whatever, do you want to look over these and do it later? Or do you want a recommendation on these tonight?
Please let them digest it till the next meeting, sir. I think it's best that they read over each one of those. There's implications from the way it's written, and I want them to study that.
Okay,
And I think it's only best to take time out one evening when you've got a second and read both of them. I may have forgotten something that somebody wants in there, either one of those documents, or I may have forgotten a department. That'd be terrible.
Okay.
So do that for me.
all right. The third thing I have is, you know, we talked about it, and we know in the educational part there'll be advantages and disadvantages. The educational part is to be, quote, nonpartisan,
The educational part.
to be, am I looking at this different than anybody else? Now, in saying that, on the signature page or whatever, if there's a signature page, I think there needs to be a disclaimer that, you know, it was our job to write the charter, to present the charter, but not to tell people how to vote on the charter. And if anybody wants to discuss.
Well, but we still have an obligation to help them understand what it says so they
That's
can
true.
make that decision.
That's true.
And also make sure they understand some of the things it doesn't do. Because like I've heard somebody come to me and say, well, hey, I heard from this attorney that if this charter is passed, that's the end of the law director office and all the constables are removed. Okay, and so I immediately, went over and talked to the guy, because initially he talked to my wife. And then she said, you need to talk to this guy. And this is a guy that's one of the constables. And evidently, some constable organization put out that information, so he thought they were credible. But that in fact does not happen. We don't have there's no impact on that. And if anything, this just has us right back to doing the law director's office in accordance with the private act, which is already law. So talk about no change.
Right. Saber?
So since I've been on here, which is almost a year now, it's been my understanding that we're gonna pass this through. We're gonna educate the voters. We're not gonna tell them to vote one way or another. That's their decision. I don't think that we should try to influence that. I think we should educate
Right.
and let them make the decision whether they voted up or down. I don't think we should say, here, vote for the charter or vote against the charter. I think it's us to hand out the information. Here's all the information, you make your informed decision.
That's correct.
If there's
That's what
something
I'm
that they
saying.
don't understand, we'll try to help them, guide them through it, but I don't think we should try to be swaying votes one way or the other.
That's perfect. It's a good position.
Yeah, but we still have to explain, here are some things that would actually be a benefit to the county, which we would not have if it's not passed.
Sure.
Because the fact of the matter is, there are some things that we won't be able to do, like emergency ordinances and stuff, and ordinances at all. And that's a significant advantage to the county to be able to do that.
Okay. Bob?
Yeah, on this Declaration of Rights, I believe, Jay, you said that would be an attachment, no, not an attachment. would-
Addendum.
Appendix, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I was just glancing through that. Those are some pretty, very, very broad statements as you look through
Yeah.
that.
That's why I'm giving it to
Yeah.
you to look through and make recommendations.
Is-
You can send me an email, or you can call me, and
Okay.
be glad to
It-
talk you through it.
My question too was, in being an appendix, does that make it the same impact as the rest of the charter, or is that
It's included in your charter.
included
yes.
as part of, the integral part of the charter, even though it's an appendix?
Right.
Jay, is any part of this not word for word from the state constitution?
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of sections there that are tailored for the county.
Okay.
But you know how
I understand.
the courts can take these kinds of statements and.
The
you end
vast
up-
majority of it is taken from the Tennessee Constitution. I told you that when we first handed it out. Those are,
Yeah.
if you look at the Tennessee Constitution, you can see the same Declaration of Rights, but it's written for a county.
I
not
know
the state.
we're gonna discuss it, but I
Mhm.
just wanted to.
It's written for
Point that out.
our county,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not something new.
No, it's not anything
No, no.
new.
See, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's, this first two sections, which I recognize, I quote them to people all the time, are the first two sections, except for using the word county.
Mm-hmm.
Is word for word from the Tennessee Constitution, Declaration of Rights, Section 1 and 2. And those are the ones I think some people would read and say, boy, that's kind of out there. Well, that's what our state constitution that we've all taken an oath to already says in the very first section of the Constitution. That's how it starts.
Chuck?
I got one question. From the, when I first got elected, Mary Murphy was our chief deputy. And she was actually reported to us. And then when she retired, we got Annette. And both these employees have been very, very valuable assets to the commission and everything they do for us. And the reason they were reporting to the chairman of the commission, then the question raised whether or not we could have an employee. So they stuck over underneath the county clerk. I know Jeff will always go with it, but we ever have new changes or anything, is there anything should be putting in here to ensure that a chief deputy is provided to the county commission?
Well, it says in there, if you look at the powers of the legislative body, that they have the ability to employ. So, that would cover
So
it.
that could come back under the commission then? Okay.
That's been inserted in there, so the county commission does have that ability.
I was just concerned because I know from between what Mary does and then what now Annette does, this commission could not do without them.
I don't know how one person does it some days.
Okay. Commissioner Hill?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jay, I had a question
Yes, sir.
sent to me, and it's in section 2.01 legislative powers.
2.01.
Legislative powers.
Yes, sir.
And it says regulating the public conduct and affairs of the residents of the county. Could you explain that?
Yeah, that's your general police power that all governments have, where you put out a resolution on nuisance activity. You put out resolution on noise activity, which is under that nuisance policy. When governments have general police powers, and I guess the best way to explain it here is also we have some like animal control type things, but this would be broader under a charter form of government. You would have ordinances that you could enact an ordinance for littering or disorderly conduct or traffic codes. Those are more, I guess, along the lines of general police powers, but yes, that's, police powers is part of the Constitution of the United States and part of the Constitution of the state of Tennessee. There is general police powers afforded to county governments in various forms.
Okay, thank you.
I like, well, fireworks, you know, we can go on and on and on and talk about it, but yes, we can regulate the conduct to some extent.
Okay, thank you.
There's always limitations on powers.
Okay? List of meetings coming up. August 9th, August the 11th, August 18th, and August 22nd.
And we may not need all those, correct?
That's right.
We're just gonna go ahead and get public notice out. I'd say that 18th and 22nd would be definite, because we'll have to get our new commissioner up to speed. But those can be canceled by the chair.
The 22nd and 23rd is gonna be when new elected commissioners will be going down to Franklin for their orientation.
That's right.
And August the 9th, there's already 2 meetings in this office, in this room.
What about 118? Do you have anything there?
Beer board.
Your board.
What was that, Tim?
Beer board,
What date?
August 9th.
Okay. Is that just one application? You wanna try to do it at 7 VL? He's got let's see, you got BZA and Planning Commission, this room's off limits. We could either put it at,
What date?
9th, either after Beer Board and 118A.
I've got planning also.
That's here though. So this room is off limits that night, so there's got a full slate, so it'll have to be 118A, and it would have to be after the Beer Board's done with one application. That's usually 30, 40 minutes. I think, Tim, is 6:30
6:30 is planning.
up here. I'm talking about the,
Planning is what I'm saying.
oh, okay. You wanna try to do it earlier? Anybody got a problem with earlier that day?
They
the
typically
9th?
don't run over 30 minutes typically, and I don't know what
Yeah.
the slate's gonna be.
Which-
7 o'clock would be fine.
Which date?
The 9th?
The 9th?
9th, 7 o'clock, and 118A, is that what we're looking
What
at?
about 5 o'clock?
Either 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock.
I can probably I'll be working in court that day in Division 2, but I should be able to make it over.
Okay.
If not, I'll get somebody to
By
relieve me.
5?
Yeah, we can do 5.
On the 9th?
That's a long day for you there, Saber.
They're
Tuesdays.
always long.
Yeah. Okay,
So on the 9th, it'd be at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, and we can still do it here, right? Correct, Mary? Mary. Mary. And then, is that too close? You got BZA coming up?
BZA starts at 5:30. Here,
Okay, so is 118, you think, the better option?
would be.
Okay, 118A on that day, 5 o'clock. Do you know where that is, Gavin? Right
It's
down.
on the first
Yeah, it's right next to her office.
We're gonna again do 5. 5
Yes, sir.
o'clock.
On the 9th.
Yes.
Yeah, on the 9th, and then for the 11th, then did you say 5 o'clock? Or were you doing 6? Okay, I'm trying to verify what the time is for the meeting in 118 on the 11th.
We haven't discussed it yet.
I can do 5 any day.
What about that for you, Saber? You've got
On the 11th?
Tim, can you make that?
I can do that.
The only date I can be here is the 18th.
Right. And again, these may not be needed, but I would definitely say the 18th and 22nd would be needed.
Is the 11th gonna be in here or 118A?
If we have it in 118A, it's not gonna be televised.
Well, let's try to make it in here.
It's not on there,
For the 11th?
That's on a Wednesday, I believe.
No,
No,
Thursday.
Thursday. We don't have any conflicts for in here on Thursday, do we?
Mm-mm.
So, be here.
That's not budget.
So here, 312.
We usually meet on Thursday for budget, but that's not.
so. No, it's on Monday this time.
Yeah, I've got the county calendar here. I'm not showing anything.
Nothing's on the note.
18th and 22nd, we have any problems?
No, other than when I personally have that
Yeah,
issue.
I know that, but I mean,
I will be in the state of Michigan by the time you
Oh,
guys
I won't be
meet.
here
we
Friday.
go, we do 6,
6 here. Let me check these.
6 o'clock on both of them.
Yeah,
Deal.
that's,
The 22nd is new orientation for
right,
newly elected county commissioners.
okay.
And for any other commissioner that wants to attend.
Yes, yeah.
In other words, I don't think I'd schedule anything on the 22nd.
When do the new commissioners come back, you know?
They'll be there the 22nd and 23rd. So,
Well, it'd have to be the 24th because it's due the 25th.
Well, we might can take care of everything on the 18th.
We might.
you want to set the 24th just in case?
What, Annette, what do you have on the 16th after county commission, on the 15th?
I don't have anything.
I didn't either. Do you want to try the 16th,
Now, I could do the 16th.
16th and 18th? I'm just trying, I'm worried about that new District 3 commissioner and getting them up to speed.
Well,
And that we know that we're gonna have a conflict on that 22nd with the new commissioner orientation. So
and the
maybe the
23rd,
16th and 18th?
what's the 24th on?
A Wednesday.
Well, that's when we wanted to turn it in.
That's why I'm kinda leaning towards the 16th and the 18th.
16th and 18th,
Yes, sir.
all right?
What time on the 16th?
6?
Okay.
Is that okay?
That
Yeah.
works better for me.
In this
Tuesday.
room too,
Yep.
Annette?
Yes.
I'm gonna start, call her Mary again. She's gonna slap me.
Could we get the times, the dates, locations,
Mhm.
a copy?
Yes, sir.
I think I'm keeping up with it, but.
Well, that
I'm
should
sure-
be,
I'm
that
not
should be
sure.
part of the minutes of this meeting, right? It'll be included on it.
We've just got one, 118A date, and that's that first one, but we'll get you a copy.
Jay, what about it being on Channel 95?
Yeah, we'd like to.
Yes, please.
And 118A, I don't know.
Brian's got that portable camera. I'll talk to Brian about it
Okay.
and, get him and Andy to work together. I think they told me they can pull that off.
Okay.
Okay, we'll try to get what she's asking about is getting it on TV on the 9th, but I'll work with Brian and, Andy on that.
Commissioner Meade, did you say you was gonna be gone the 18th?
Yeah, I leave I have to be up there on the evening of the 18th to get things set up for,
I'll say I'm gonna be gone the 18th through the 25th also. So I was wondering if you, just if the 18th, maybe have this back-to-back, 16th and 17th.
yeah, hopefully by the 16th we'll be done.
That way both of us could be here for that.
No, I can be here on the 16th, I just can't be here on the 18th.
I can
Yeah.
do both days, 16th and 17th.
There's already a charter commission meeting on the calendar for the 17th because that's the third Wednesday.
17th?
On the 17th.
Yeah,
at 6 o'clock.
that's right. I could attend that.
The 18th through the 25th, I got to take my wife out of town. That's our 45th anniversary.
Yeah.
Holy
nice.
cow.
No, I'm saying, but either one of us could be
47,
here on the
48.
six,
What,
you could still come the evening of the 17th, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll do 16th and 17th.
what about the 17th?
Well, I could be there on the 17th, sounds like Mr. Fritz could be there.
Well, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, can we publicly notice the 16th, 17th, and 18th, just in case there's a hitch?
What time on the 17th?
6 o'clock, room 312, all three of them. We may not need it, just like the public notice we put out before where we'll announce that we may not need it, they're discretionary dates. But just in case, we've got questions from our new commissioner, I'd like to have that extra day in there.
Let's do that.
Okay, 16th, 17th, and 18th, is that okay with everyone, 6 o'clock?
Yeah,
room
that's
312?
along with the 9th and the 11th.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You okay with any of that? Do you want to publicly notice anything that second week up to the 25th, our deadline there?
I don't think we'll need it.
Okay.
Hopefully not.
If we do, we can set it that week. We don't have to set it now, we can set it at one of
Okay.
the other meetings.
Okay.
I mean, we got 7 commissioners that's been here, and we're all set to say it's finished, so surely one person, a new person coming in, not gonna, unless they have something earth-shattering to present, I don't see much changes or any changes being done other than bringing them up to speed.
Okay. And I'll try to do that as best as I can. All right, so I've got the 9th, 11th, the 16th, the 17th, and the 18th, and the only one we've got in 118A is the 9th.
That's right.
It's at 5.
The 11th's at 5,
Right. The other ones are at 6.
the others are 6.
And I'm sure Annette will have all these on the minutes so we can have something to check our notes from.
We'd be lost without her. Any other business? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Doesn't require a second.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, sir. Hope you're charging overtime.
How's your camp?
No, John always puts it above.
I'm not been in the campaign.
Tell John